What is going on, guys and girls? It's the Short Bear, and today we're going to talk about my yearly performance in 2019. Before we start, I just wanted to quickly tell you that the sale is still going on for a couple of more days, so if you ever wanted to join the Man Has Money team, click on the link in the description and I'll see you in chat. What is going on, guys and girls? It's the Short Bear, and today we're going to talk about my yearly performance for the year of 2019. Before we start, I just want to quickly say that I'm sorry about my voice. I'm a bit ill right now, so I'm going to do my best to speak as clearly as possible. So, 2019 was the best year I ever had. I really, hit all the goals I had and more, because a lot of things changed in my trading in general. So, for those that have been following me since 2018, 2017, you know that there was a time I was looking for a high win rate. High win rate, I'm not saying it's the right thing to look for, but it just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do for me. um, the thing is, I started noticing that with a high win rate, I would, basically, let's say I'm short, I short something, it drops a bit, and I just cover. And at the end of the day, I felt frustrated when, my win rate wasn't over 70%. And where, now I'm more looking at the end result and I don't really care about being right. What I wanted back then was, to basically be right all the time, and that put extra pressure on me all the time. And of course, when you're looking for a high win rate, the day that, you just don't win and you can't handle the emotions and, just the stress of it, you're gonna mess up at some point, or at least I did, and I didn't feel like it would be the right move for me to continue that way. So what I started to do is I shifted my strategies to a more risk reward based kind of approach to the market, where I didn't feel the pressure to be right. What I wanted was to be right in the end, and to be all right with not just not being right. So if something stopped me out, I was fine with it. It's all right, I don't really care because I'm fine with losing. And I didn't feel that way before. And when you feel that way, that you don't feel the pressure to be right all the time, that really lifts a burden off of your shoulders, and that really enables you to get to the next stage. um, at least, that's how I felt. So before I would look for, more quicker gains, and now I'm looking for the big picture idea, trying to be selective about the trades I want to take, and, looking for those, more like 15% to, 70% wins. That's what I'm looking for. It doesn't mean I'm looking for a home run on every single ticker, on every single setup, all right? It's more like, um, I know the potential. I track the data. I know how big the moves can be, and I'm trying to capitalize as much as I can within those boundaries set up by the data. So let's get into it. So this is my P&L. All right, since kind of the start of 2019. As you can see, it started out pretty slow out of 2018, where the few past months in between 2018 and 2019, I started shifting my whole strategy, and try to figure everything out to be as, efficient as possible. That's why the graph looks that way. And then I started to find exactly what I wanted in the strategy, and I started, to consistently make some gains, and started to, wait for a hot market, wait for the right kind of environment to really size up. And that happened right at, the end of 2019. So the gains were really nice the whole year. I was really happy with my performance, just consistently growing the account. And then, the market changed a bit. We got more fades, we got more, gappers. The gappers gapped up more, and I was able to take bigger moves. And into those bigger moves, I just built out positions the whole time, and it really showed. The win rate this year is right around, 60%, so 55 to 60%. I'm really happy about it. Um, because as I said, I'm all right with not winning. But the thing is, when I lose maybe, 1%, if not less. And when I win really big. So let's say 20% to 25% on average. So let's say more 20% on average, which is really great because that enables me to take a lot of trades, to be wrong a lot of the time, and in the end still be on top of the game. So those are the months, as I said. Start of the year pretty slow, started to kind of shift my approach, and then March, April came along, like in 2018, really nice months. Nice action. I really liked the action the previous year as well. And then into the summer months, we started, to get less volume, less action. So started to kind of size down a lot of tricky plays as well, with a lot of manipulation. August came along and I thought, all right, we're back on track. We're gonna see what happens now. And then September, just absolute manipulation, just super crazy, really like started fading and then trapped within one candle, reclaimed everything, 10-15% into a halt. And the whole time we had a lot of traps. Was really tricky to trade, not gonna lie. I really didn't like that market. Still made it out green nicely. Um, but I really just didn't like the action I saw. After that, October, it started shifting again. At the start of the month, I was kind of hesitant, and then at the second half of the month, I started to be really in sync with the market. Started sizing up again, and then into November, kind of stepstone into it, and really hit it hard. I knew those months, November, December, January, those are typically the months where, I'm really happy about the way stocks move, so I need to capitalize. And I felt like I did a great job throughout the year to really build out the account to a point where I had such a big cushion that I really could size up, really take advantage of the opportunities out there. And I knew, all right, this time I'm not gonna just, sit around, hope for things. I'm gonna trade my data and I'm gonna hit it hard. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. So November and December, back to back best months ever. Just super super happy about it because you see me often like post about biggest day, biggest month, or whatever, but I can tell you in November and December everything changed for me, like the possibilities and everything, the numbers I've laid out. I was just really really happy about the performance because it proved to myself that yes, I can size up even more, yes, I can push the boundaries even more, and I learned just a lot about myself during those months. So really happy about how it went basically. This is my performance by the hour of the day. Nothing really changed, throughout the year. The best faders always start at 7 a.m. All right, so they start gapping up to 300%, and then someone hits it a bit, basically really hard with dilution, so ATMs or whatever convertibles, and it just starts fading. So 7 a.m. doesn't mean I enter a position there and I cover it within the hour, as you are gonna see just after, but it means I start a position, an idea really early in the morning at those prices, and basically I add to the position to close it out, right around the end of the day. So a really long hold. Um, and then, every single hour, pretty green, every single hour, really happy about it. Where the previous year I had some drawdowns at the end of the day, so bigger drawdowns, and midday I was kind of, break even. This year, I was really happy that I kind of shifted it back, where midday I can still make gains. I just changed the strategies basically, and at the end of the day, still 1 hour before the end of the day, I am red, and I am 100% sure that it is because so it's not because of the winning days. On the winning days, I'm still green, but on the losing days where I really get frustrated about myself because it still happens. I mean, we're not perfect, right? And on those days where I lose, I get frustrated because I don't want to end up red, and that's when I start making bad decisions, trying to make it back. And because of that, I am red, and it's the only hour of the day where I'm red. After hours, same thing. Sometimes we get some nice opportunities where they start, really dumping. Really nice opportunities there. I mean, not biggest gains, but still it adds up nicely, and it basically eradicates the losses from that, 3 to 4 p.m. kind of time, times 2 to 3. Um, Performance by day of the week, kind of the same thing I see over and over again. Fridays kind of changed for me, because previously Mondays and Fridays were my worst days. It's, basic psychology. It's, Monday you get up, you get on the computer, you start trading, you're excited for the week. You, of course, you want to start out the week, with a nice winner. And because of that, because you kind of put pressure on yourself, you're not going to profit as much, and of course you don't have kind of the exercise of the week. So where, on Thursdays, for example, you just had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you kind of know how the market moves. You're kind of, in sync with the market. On Mondays, you just had 2 days of rest. You need kind of a bit of time to get back on sync. And on Fridays, of course, same thing, kind of psychological. It's kind of hard to, really hit it hard because the that the weekend is coming up and you put pressure on yourself. So still, Fridays is bigger than Tuesdays and Mondays, but at the same time it could be bigger like Wednesdays and Thursdays. um and yeah, that's kind of the trend of the week. Really happy about it because last year Mondays and Fridays I lost more money. Performance by intraday duration. This is exactly what I meant. So where previously in 2019 I was looking for win rate, so kind of shorter holds. In 2019, I really worked hard on building out positions, really adding a lot of size. I felt like that was the only way to kind of protect the account on losers and at the same time really hit it hard and really get big winners. And as you can see, it's the same thing over and over again. So I start building out positions. The positions that don't work, usually, they reclaim pretty fast. I cut them right away, and as you can see, the losses stay small. And the positions that start working, that I have the most size on, I really hold long and long and long, so longer and longer throughout the day until the fade is over, until it reaches the data point of maximal fade, for the average fade, and I close them out. So as you can see, the biggest time frame for me is 4 hours and over. So it starts out as I get in and then I add during the day. Really happy about it. I mean, I'm protecting the account as much as I can. The smallest size is on those smaller time frames. So, when I'm wrong fast. I accept the loss, I cut it fast. And when I'm right, I build out the positions, I add size, and it really pays off, as you can see. Performance by price, kind of the same thing as in 2018, I mean. Pretty happy about it. Stocks under $2, still a bit tricky, especially the ones under $1. I'm not a fan of them, but $2 to $5, that is my sweet spot. That is what I really like. So stock that gaps up from 150, so $1.50 to $4. That is exactly what I'm looking for. That is where I really size up and where I feel like I can, read the tape the best, the chart best, and so on and so on. Stocks in between 100 and $200 are still tricky. I'm still, kind of testing the market here and there because I'm building new strategies with options. Still struggling with those, but I really hope that that will change in 2020. We'll see next year, I guess, during the next, yearly recap. But so far, so good. I'm pretty happy about the performance. And I expect this year to be green next year. All right, so we're going to talk about my biggest winners and my biggest losers. So as you can see, this year I had a pretty big loss on TCCO. At least it looks that way, right? It looks like this was, a really big loss, which it was in comparison to the other losers, but it wasn't that big. So the TCCO loser on that day, so it's not one day, it's 3 days basically. So every time I traded it, so it's blacklisted for me, so I'm not going to trade it again if it pops. So those days added up to right around 1/3 of MIRM. So I kept it as small as possible. It's still a bit bigger than I wanted it to. But I knew that, I'm being realistic. I don't think I'm gonna ever be able to kind of eradicate every single, big loser. There are gonna be from time to time bigger losers. The important thing for me is to keep them far smaller than my biggest winners, because that is what makes the big difference, right? So over the year, you're gonna have trades that are, pretty normal, so not big trades, and those are going to kind of add up, put you green, and then you're going to have those big trades that will change your year, basically. So, those days where you make as much as in a month, so those tickers like for me MIRM or CLVS, right? I just don't want to have those taken away by losses. That is the plan, and that's how, I kept them small. So Beam BIMI, for example, this loss is as big as, 1/5, if not less, I believe even less, so it's like 1/7 of MIRM, if I remember correctly. So, the trend is nice, and I mean, the TCCO loss compared to the winners would be right around, less than, RHE. So, every single one of those winners will cover a TCCO, for example, easily. So I'm going to show you, the best trades and the worst trades, the best tickers and worst tickers. So we're going to talk about MIRM, CLVS, and TCCO and BIMI, and also TNXP. So let's get into it. So MIRM is not a ticker. I actually made all the profits on one day on. The volume was just a bit, too low for me to really, size up to the next level, but it really allowed me still to get a decent size position on this one. So this is the latest trade I made on it. All right, so MIRM is a ticker that kind of down traded throughout the months in 2019, and all of a sudden they got, good news. I believe FDA news, if I'm not mistaken, on this one, and it started running. So I traded it actually on this day. I left it alone on the next day. I traded it on this day, and I traded it on, this day right here, which I'm showing you right now. So what the plan on this one was basically take advantage of, long chasers, and as the price comes back down to, the true price, the fair price, just take it off into, the fades back. So taking basically advantage of emotions to basically get the backside. That's what I did on this one. On this day, so on the first day, I got caught front side, but not much. So from right around 21 to 22, I covered there, and then I reshorted and covered into the 18s, making everything back and more. So pretty happy about the way I did it. Stayed patient on this one. So in this case, on this day, what we saw was, on that day just before, we put in a high at 27, and then on the next day we open up at, mid 23s after, weakness into the close. We started ripping, and, within 2 candles, 10 minutes, we were back at, the highs, pulled back, and I actually got a long on this one. So I got a long towards 26, thinking, all right, we may open up some more, and I was careful, not too long and get dumped on, but I waited for, absorption on the bid, absorption, and then breakdown and reclaim of that breakdown. That's what I did on the long side, and then I kind of watched it and covered, I sold into the 27 push. As I saw, basically, all right, we're stuffing. We are actually going to do what I thought we might do. And as we started shorting, and then as we moved down under the breakout area, started adding more. We moved down back into the range, popped, and then I was watching the tape, super heavy. I added more size, covered into the dip under 25. So just a bit just to be short, because it started grinding down, not really panicking down. Started popping heavy, 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 and washed really hard towards 23, giving me a nice $4 wash on this one to cover into. Got most out, bottom tick actually on this one, and then it started going sideways, and I just covered the rest into the end of the day. This is the next day, so the day just before that day. All right, so here we broke over this high right here, and on that day I also took it long towards 26 right here, as we kind of absorbed and absorbed and absorbed, and as we pushed, I noticed, all right, no buying is coming in, volume divergence. We're starting to get really overextended from that gap up from $8, basically tripling, and I started hitting it hard as it kind of double topped at 27 and I covered under 24. So, it's not one winner on this one. It's, multiple big trades that really added up nicely. CLDS, I think this is the best trade I made, on so compared to MIRM, where it's, multiple trades. On CLDS, it was all one trade that I really wanted to hit big. So what I did on this one is, or what they did is the same pattern as, PTI and all those stocks, kind of, really ripping, and we get the news that everyone anticipated and longed because of, and as the news came out, kind of sell the news event, they start selling, and on the first day, on this day, I believe I traded it, but a bit late, didn't get exactly what I wanted, and then on the next day, on this day right here near 12, I shorted it as well, a bit, here and there, and got out basically for a small winner. But I was really happy on that day because I kept my composure. I wanted to move down, a big move down, and I didn't get it at first. And I just stayed disciplined. I cut the short every single time we reclaimed, and I knew, all right, we're gonna get the trade eventually. But I just want to, not be, in front of the train. Basically, I don't want to, get wrecked before the trade comes, because once the trade comes, if I lose before that, I'm gonna lose confidence, not gonna size up, and I'll have the loss to deal with as well. So on the next day, I was watching it pre-market, kind of weak, saw some sellers, and I hit it hard right at the open. So I expected, a small pop, but we didn't get any kind of buying going in. And I shorted into the pop, and then it really slammed back down like $1.50 right away, as you can see. But I wasn't done with it because I knew the daily chart, I knew how it moved, and I was disciplined the day before to hit it hard on that day. So when it started bouncing, I was watching the tape because I didn't want to see a grind back up, but we were staying heavy. So I added some size. I trimmed some as we moved up, not because, I was worried about the loss or I sized up too much, but my thought was, all right, you know what? This is, so it pulled back and kind of curled back up. I was like, all right, if we want to move back towards 11, I'm fine, trimming some here and adding it back higher, because that's gonna just make it doesn't look as good. Sometimes you see charts and you think, yeah, but he covered, here and there, that's a small loss. But you have to think, if you cover and you short higher, that's more profit at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if the chart looks better or not, right? So trimmed some, it started stuffing, I added back everything and more at that point because I knew, right, we're not going to make it towards 11, most likely. Started washing towards $9, I took a big piece off right here, bounce, moved down, but we reclaimed the range right here, and I thought, all right, we might get a bigger bounce towards, 10, 10.50. So I covered everything there and kind of missed the move towards, 8.70s, but I'm not really mad about it. Because I took, as you can see right here, most of the day, right, from top to near the bottom. And then the next day, I left it alone because the thing is, people are going to see the breakdown, right? And the next day, they're going to try to short it to get the next leg down, kind of what happened on that day after the big red day. And then it starts, getting choppy because everyone's hammering short and, nobody's really selling. And many players are not going to start selling if they know every single other person is going to try to sell or short it as well, right? They could, absorb your short and then squeeze you higher like they did towards 14 and then start selling again. That will, bring them far more than, just straight up selling into everyone selling and everyone panicking. All right, TNXP, that's the same thing as MIRM. This one I traded, I don't know, like 5 times this year. Every single time, just massive opportunity. Just I really love the way it moves. On that particular day, we were still in kind of in the middle of December, so I knew, all right, things are likely to fade based on the stats. And I started shorting some into the 130s, covered into the 140s, just quick cut, restarted 150s, cut it right away, and then I built a bigger position towards 160, where here I had, one starter and cut the ad right away, and then cut the starter. Here the starter and I cut right away, and here I added bigger, the bigger ads, the starter, bigger ad. And then we started popping back. I was like, all right, maybe we're going to test 170s again. Let me just trim some. And if I'm right, I'm going to do the same thing as CLDS. I'll add back everything and more because now I know, get the confirmation that we stuffed rather than let it test 170s with the whole size and then covering, and being emotional. So trimmed some, and then I added back everything on top, everything, all my ads, and as I saw it break down, I got to full size. So I think I rarely traded so much size on a ticker like that compared to the volume, but I wanted to hit it hard because I knew on a TNXP as a ticker, I saw it over and over again. I traded 10 times in the past, no head moves, and it can really wash once it cracks. So I had a big size here, and then we crashed back down to 130. I was really happy, but I hid my P&L, which I normally don't do because when I see the position, I know what share size I have. I see the price. I see whatever 30 cent wash on 10,000 shares or whatever. That gives me so and so much, so $3,000 in that case. So I don't really hide my P&L because I know in my head, like it's not that hard, to kind of add it up in your head, multiplicate it, and stuff like that, right? It's not hard, so it doesn't really bring anything really to look at it that way. So, but on this one, I kind of hit it because I knew, right, I'm up really nicely, and I don't want to be influenced by it at all. I'm just gonna try to ignore the fact and not try, to kind of calculate everything in my head. So I added more size because the thing is I expected a bigger bounce. We tried bouncing stuff. We tried bouncing stuff. Tried bouncing stuff. So every time we tried to break out, find liquidity through the breakout, with stops, we just stuffed back, just super heavy. So I added even more size, then moved down, and then I covered into pieces right here into the 120 area. I can't remember if I left a piece for after hours or not on this one. This, for example, another example of TNXP this year, also a really nice trade on this one. So it's shorting, so gap up, same thing, after 3 green days, third red day, which we don't see that often anymore, into, the 250 kind of previous support and now resistance area. And I believe we had some dilution in that area as well. Started shorting, trimmed some, added everything back, and then, covered a piece into the big wash towards 220, which allowed me to be so much more confident and okay with a bigger pullback to add more size. Pop back towards 230, I added everything back a bit more, and then as we move down towards 210, the thing is, I expected a violent wash like on these kind of candles, but we started grinding down under the breakdown area, which I don't like because we often see a grind back up. So covered a piece just to be sure. I wanted to keep a piece on, but as we kind of broke down under 210, no panic towards $2, whatever, right? And I knew $2, there are going to be a lot of buyers in here. And as we kind of tried popping and break down again, but we supported here, I just cut everything. So covered everything for a really nice winner again on this one. And those trades, I had 5 of those kind of trades on TNXP this year, which added up to a really nice amount in the end. TCCO, that is what I want to change in 2020, right? Look at that, right? Just over trading, still my main problem, right? Yes, I'm keeping my losses super small, right? Or as small as I possibly can. But the problem is if I start over trading, I'm gonna get into major trouble because it's not gonna add up to a massive loss, but paper cuts can really add up, and this is the perfect example for it, right? So started shorting, and then we moved down, we started trapping. It looked super heavy the whole time, but still it kept on ripping up. So I tried it, cut it, tried it, cut it, tried it, cut it, tried it. And I remember on this one, for example here, so shorted, then it started reclaiming, I cut it, and then we dumped. I reshorted and then reclaimed, right? So I kind of got into that mindset where I missed the perfect spot, and then it dumped like I wanted to, and then I expected a bigger move down, because we were trading at $7 and from a $2 open, right? And then as it moved down, I'm shorting it, and then it pops back, I get out, and that's the area I should be entering at, right? And then it dumps back, I get in, I get squeezed again, right? So basically I shorted where I should be covering, and vice versa, the same thing on the other side. And I got squeezed again, and then I shorted some more, covered some here, and then same thing again here, right? So shorted, starts reclaiming, I cut it, and then we dump, and again I get my size in on on the dump. So right here, a nice piece. And I remember this being a nice piece, but I wanted more because I had the losers from before kind of in that I start getting into that mentality of I'm not really stable and I'm looking to make it back. And then we start reclaiming. I cut it, I trade again at 8, and then I get squeezed again. So same thing over and over on this ticker, right? I start over trading. I start, getting emotional. I just don't stop at my, I've got 3 tries and I'm leaving it alone kind of rule, right? And I'm showing this to you because I don't want to hide anything. This is part of trading, right? We're all gonna mess up here and there. I never met a trader that was perfect all the time. That's also why I don't, you're not never gonna see me bash someone because of a loss, right? If someone shows the loss, he's trying to be kind of transparent. That's also what I'm trying to do. You need to be honest with yourself. You don't have to kind of hide losses, right? Losses are part of it. Losses happen. So, by sharing it with you and in general, like sharing your losses, you're going to deal with them better than if you just, put it in a closet and just forgot about it. Because those trades and those charts, this is where the losses happen. This is where you give back on bigger days. This is when you lose mental capital for the next few days as well, because it's not only that day, that ticker, right? You lose like that, you start losing confidence in your ability to trade, and then the next days, for example, you could get a major opportunity and you miss it because you overtraded on that past day, right? So there's a lot going into it. I'm not going to talk really in detail about everything on in this video. If you want me to make a video about the bigger losses and so on, I'd be more than happy to do it and analyze them with you. But I made a lot of notes on my personal side, on my journal, to kind of avoid those kind of days. And TCCO was kind of the last day where I did something quite that dramatic with covering, and so on and so on. BIMI, same thing, right? Same thing as a TCCO, where I just have my opinion. I'm being stubborn. I'm not cutting it, or I'm cutting it every single time, but I get losers and losers and paper cuts and paper cuts after paper cuts, and I start getting really emotional, right? So BIMI, this setup was, that kind of dilution wise, because dilution and locates wise. I remember this one really well because this is kind of, the kind of stock like PTI where, everyone knows about the fundamentals, and everyone knows about that thing, but it just keeps on ramping and ramping and ramping. And, you get caught in it and you just start doing some dumb stuff because you know about the stock and you're trying, to just catch the top and catch the big fade back down, because we're moving from now $1 to all the way to 9, and I started out pretty late, where I tried to be patient. It starts grinding up towards 4. I'm expecting a 4 reject. I cover, and then over 4 gets heavy, short again, then we break down, I short it some more, and then we reclaim. I have to cut it, and then I kind of leave it alone. So as you can see, the discipline right here is pretty nice in the morning still. And then started shorting towards 6 once we rejected, and then we get the pop over 6. I cover because I'm thinking, all right, we're gonna move higher, just like before. And then we stuff. I add more size. We pop. I cover. We reject again. I short. Pop back up. I cover. Right. So same thing again, right? Where I start shorting the bottoms and then covering the tops, not the opposite side. I do, and from there, from that 6, I get more emotional. Start shorting, cover, short, cover, short, cover, short, cover, short, cover, and then kind of leave it alone because I'm noticing, wait a sec, what the hell am I doing, right? And then $9 starts really getting, heavy, heavy, heavy. I start adding more size and then start breaking down, and we reclaim again. So I'm thinking, all right, reclaim like here, reclaim like here. So I cut it, and then I add back some, and then the rest kind of following in towards 7, because now I'm thinking, all right, breakdown. Because this one was super hard to borrow, right? There pretty much was no one really to squeeze because it wasn't easy to borrow, pretty much nothing. And then because of that, and that's exactly what I just talked about before, I'm getting emotional. I'm getting, I'm kind of using my mental capital. And then the next day, gap up towards 11 and we move all the way to 5. I just miss it completely, not able to trade it because, I'm thinking, no, this is going to trap, this is going to trap. And I just missed a good opportunity on this one. And this is why it's so dangerous, right? All right, so that's everything I had for you. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.